Subjugating the enemy's army without fighting is the true pinnacle of excellence. Hi, I'm John Rose. I remember when I read that from The Art of War by Sun Tzu well over a decade ago. Got real excited because I was able to connect that with some other pieces. And I realized there was a common link to conquering nations and controlling the masses and solving most of our problems. And that simple common link is satisfying our needs. So how do you conquer a nation without fighting the army? You don't let them satisfy their needs. You starve them out, you poison the water, you dam up the water. You enact an embargo, first act of war. Starve them out. Don't let them satisfy their needs. Very obvious what we're doing here. We're going to kill you through starvation. We can go over there and bomb your aqueducts and your infrastructure and your sewage systems, and then the plague will break out. We can kill you that way also. What we do, isn't it? Now, when it comes to controlling the masses, it's done on a much more subtle level. They are making sure we don't satisfy our needs by making sure our experts who are supposed to tell us what those needs are misdirected, and they don't know. Why do you think there's so much confusion around nutrition, folks? That's the biggest weapon system on this planet right now. It's the way we messed up. It's the reason why we have a need for government to begin with. Remember, we stopped eating biophotons. We lost one of our senses long ago. And now we've got subsequent needs we never had before. And all of our needs can be used against us. And that's what's happening, folks. Most of us just don't know what's going on. And as a result, if we don't know how to live, we won't be healthy. And then we're out of control. When we lost one of our senses, that's what created all these subsequent needs, because it changed our mentality. In politics and governments, it's called alglockery. I did a real good video on Satan's secret weapon where I explained the Kyklos cycles, how governments go through cycles and democracies go through cycles. And the one thing that starts off the whole process is when the mob rules. That's alglockery. And that's because we lost one of our senses. The mob's out of control. And then when we get to democracy, where there's 9 stages, we go back to the dependency stage. That's where the mob rules once again, and we get in trouble. So the solution is to understand the role we play individually, which makes us a collective. And collectively, we're messed up, folks. We're out of control. We're easily controlled. So, again, how do you conquer a nation? You don't let them satisfy their needs. How do you control the masses? Well, you misdirect all their so-called experts so no one knows how to live, and they don't satisfy their needs. And then how do you solve most of our problems? Most of our illnesses and ill behaviors are coming because we're not satisfying our needs. Remember, folks, we have a belief system, we make lifestyle choices, and we've got this feedback system. All of our illnesses and ill behaviors is just trying to tell us to stop focusing on what you got and look back at what you're doing and the beliefs that allowed you to do it. So how do you control the masses? You control what people know. You control their beliefs. You control our so-called experts so they are totally clueless. It only takes one generation to pass down mistakes to our children, so they'll pass it down to the next generation. And that's what we've been doing for 3,000 generations. We stopped eating biophotons 3,000 years ago. We've been out of control. That's what created a need for government to begin with. Now we got the sickest of us using the government and every other avenue they can to keep making sure we don't know how to live. It's all about satisfying our needs, and we've got 2 groups of needs I talk about all the time in other videos. This might be your very first video, you never know. We have 12 essential needs because we're living systems. Air, water, food, sunshine, exercise, sleep, our thoughts, our emotions, the community we live in spiritually. We've got to be free from things outside our control, and also not to be free of poisons. And then we have to procreate. And then, of course, there's the environment itself. So there are 12 essential needs. But long ago, we stopped eating our biophotons. Now we lost one of our senses. Now we have another group of needs that never existed before. Identified 10 main subsequent needs because we're sick and disconnected, because we lost one of our senses. The other subsequent need we have to worry about are subsequent causes. Now this comes from the ripple effect. Again, we're living systems. We're subject to the law of cause and effect, just like all matter is subject to Newton's third law of motion, the law of action and reaction. Action, reaction, cause and effect, ordered pairs. We're subject to this law. As a result, we have an environment, and that environment is what sustains us. The quality of the context in our environment determines the quality of us directly. So that's those 12 essential needs, the 2 additional temporary needs. Again, we have 10 subsequent needs because we're sick and disconnected. We've lost one of our senses. And then those subsequent causes, that comes from the ripple effect. So cause and effect, and then ripple effect. This is where effects can become causes, as in the causal loop. And effects can also become knowledge, as in the knowledge loop. And everyone knows experience is the best teacher, right? That's the experience of the consequences. That's what we need, and it's what we don't have. But we can't have it because we don't have the knowledge of the consequences. We don't know how to live. We don't know there's 2 groups of needs now. And a lot of times when people say, look, here's our species-specific diet, you're going to be satisfying that first group of needs. Well, wait a second. I wasn't raised on that diet. I've been eating the other way for decades. Now I've become dependent upon some of my mistakes. Now I might have some subsequent causes that aren't going to go away just because I removed the primary causes. So we have subsequent needs from being sick and disconnected, and we've got subsequent causes that don't always go away immediately just because we stop making the mistakes or remove the primary causes. We can do that overnight. If we banging our head up against the wall every day, we can stop banging our head overnight. But that big lump we've got may take a while to go away. So there are subsequent causes. Remember, we have thoughts, actions, reactions, beliefs, causes, effects. That's linear. Then there's a ripple effect. That's circular. The effect becomes the cause. Now that big lump on your head is a problem. Now that tumor that's in your bile ducts might be a problem. There's a time and a place to deal with those type of subsequent causes. The main way it affects most of us is that one of our organ systems, our body systems, might not be functioning. And that's where we have to support our body in case it's damaged. If your thyroid is damaged, you might not be making any thyroxine. Pancreas is damaged, you might not be making any insulin. And on and on and on. So I've done a really good video that explains how we have 10 main body systems. I explain what the real cause of disease is. I explain what is the healthiest diet for humans, and that's the title of the video. I'll put that in a link down below as a pinned comment, so you can watch it. It's very long, and I go into depth about a lot of subjects some of you guys may not have heard of before. We have to take responsibility, folks. There's only one way to get out of this hell that we're in, and that is for all of us to realize the common link, and that's to satisfy our needs. We're not doing it. And that's, in fact, why I added 2 preliminary steps to the only thing we have to do. Only one thing we have to do. 2 groups of needs. We got to satisfy them, but most of us aren't willing and able to do that. That's where the other 2 steps comes into play. So in effect, I've perfected a 3-step process. The first step addresses the willness issue on a temporary basis. It's a solid food vacation, so we can see what we're missing, and then be in a better position to say, I don't know if I want to keep making those 5 mistakes or not. If you don't know what those 5 mistakes are, watch what is the healthiest diet for humans. And then once we see what we're missing, we can take the second step, and that's where we're going to have the ability to correct these 5 mistakes on a permanent basis. And the whole time, we always have to realize we got to satisfy both group of needs. So a lot of people will say, wait a second, John, I'm doing the species-specific diet, but it isn't working, and I don't think it's our ideal diet because I've got a supplement. Well, that's the point. It's only our species-specific diet that works in an ideal world. We're no longer in an ideal world. We've got another group of needs. We're damaged. If you're damaged, there may be subsequent causes that we have to address on a temporary basis. Hoping that it's only on a temporary basis and there hasn't been any permanent damage, which can happen. That's why you don't want to waste any time proving this stuff to yourself, folks. There is a point of irreversibility. So you don't want to waste any time to find out if this is true when something happens. You want to test this idea whose time has come before anything happens. And you'll see amazing results no matter what state you're in. But for those who are really suffering and have been in a horrible state for a long time, man, I'm telling you, it is such a treat for me to experience what you guys get to go through, because it's life transforming, and it's exciting to wake up and not have any more pain in your knees. It's exciting to wake up and not have your head be throbbing. It's exciting to join the hero's journey and get out there and spread this message and let everybody know they don't have to suffer. And if they do it the right way, they're in for a treat.